Night of the Living Dead is credited as being the first real zombie movie, but it's more than that. This is a rare breed of intelligent horror movie. The actions of the characters have thought put into them. When they do foolish things, there's a reason for it. It is to make a statement about how people behave. The only thing that I can think to compare it to is the sequel and the Tremors series. The story is simple. A young woman named Barbara and her brother Johnny are going to a cemetery to visit the grave of their deceased father. There, they encounter a deranged man that attacks them. Barbara flees, escaping into a seemingly abandoned house. She is soon joined by a man named Ben. It turns out that the man who attacked Barbara and her brother isn't the only crazy person. They're all over the place. There's a horde of them, and they're outside. Ben tries to prepare. He tries to look for supplies to secure the house, while Barbara has a mental breakdown. Then it turns out that there actually are other survivors hiding in the basement. One of them is a man named Mr. Cooper. He immediately gets in a conflict with Ben over what they should do. Should they try to escape? Should they hold up in the basement? There's pros and cons to both. They get in a big argument over it. Ben is a bit of a hothead. He has a temper. He gets frustrated with people when he thinks that they're doing foolish things, when they're making bad decisions. But he's aware of this. He tries to keep his cool. Mr. Cooper is the opposite. He's arrogant, and it's very important to him that he be in charge. And this is what the movie is really about. It's about how people act, how they behave, or rather misbehave. The threat outside doesn't really need to be zombies. It could pretty much be anything. The undead are just an excuse to bring out the best and worst in people. They're a threat that creates a situation where the director and the writers can make comments about how people act. A lot of focus has been placed on the race of the character Ben. The race of the characters don't matter. They could all be the same race and it would still be the same story. That's because this is about people being people. Anyone who's been forced to helplessly watch as leaders made dumb decisions, as people panicked, as people took advantage of an incident to try to establish or reinforce power dynamics will understand this movie. The different characters do make good points, but because people are people, they bicker, and it just makes the situation worse. As far as this being a zombie movie goes, it's good. A lot of stuff that was done later would surpass it as far as gore and everything, but it sets the standard. At this point, a zombie outbreak, along with the rules and tropes that accompany it, are well known, and so this can feel very paint by the numbers, but it was the first to do it, and so we've got to remember that it was new at the time. We don't even find out till later that they are actually undead. We just think that they're crazy people, that it's an outbreak of some sort of disease that drives people insane. It's been noted that they're called ghouls instead of zombies in this movie. A series of radio and TV broadcasts spoon feed the characters as well as the audience information about the situation at large, about what they're up against. Older folk might be reminded of sitting around the radio or the television, listening intently during a bad situation. Nowadays, the internet would be what people would use. The eerie, ominous radio transmissions would go on to be sampled several times. Being trapped in a house in the middle of nowhere that is under siege by strange and violent creatures is a very scary scenario. This would be one of many fun siege films. I like how there's a nice variety to the zombies, but at the same time, if you'll notice, a lot of them are in night clothes, like they were caught sleeping or getting ready in the morning. And we also get the first of many naked female zombies that would appear in these kinds of movies. This is a survival film as much as anything. They talk about securing food and water. They search for anything useful for weapons. Every gamer has searched for weapons and supplies like how Ben does. It is kind of dubious that the other films take place in the same continuity as this one. The news broadcast at least claims that the situation is under control. Maybe that's a lie to keep people from panicking. The zombies in this one use weapons. I don't really remember them doing that in the others. A lot of emphasis is placed on cosmic rays as being the source of the outbreak. But again, I don't think this is in the other films. Cosmic rays being a explanation for this feels very old school, like something from an old 50s sci-fi movie. In general, this one feels kind of old school. It's in black and white. It feels like it's about a decade older than it is. In the beginning, he wears gloves to drive, which feels kind of like something someone would do back in the day. The lighting and the music are very dramatic, and a lot of the times the music is probably overly dramatic. Ben using fire to scare away the zombies feels like it's something out of a classic monster movie, like it's a classic monster weakness. One of the few flaws with the film is that he'd have set the yard on fire several times and it would have spread to the house. I think that they abandon this fire weakness in the sequels. Another problem is that the dialogue can be clunky sometimes. Some of the acting is wooden, but I don't think that this film had the highest budget, so it's understandable. Another minor complaint is that the newsroom, where we get a lot of the exposition from, is filled with very loud ass clanking typewriters. It gives it the impression of a lot of information flowing in and out, like this is a hub of information during this confusing and trying time. But it makes me wonder why the hell they didn't move those people out of that room if it's going to be so loud. Due to a screw up, Night of the Living Dead would accidentally be placed in the public domain, which I'm sure inadvertently helped it spread. This is the first in a series of films, with the sequel, Dawn of the Dead, being the most popular and influential, and from there it starts to get wild. The man who plays the cemetery zombie, Bill Heinzman, would go on to capitalize on his unique status as the first zombie, appearing in a bunch of other zombie movies. This film would actually give birth to two different series: George Romero's The Dead series and John Russo's The Return of the Living Dead movies. The Dead series is more intelligent, it's more focused on survival stories, it wants to use zombie outbreaks to make social commentary, while the Living Dead movies are more about having fun. There would also be a Night of the Living Dead remake in 1990. So there we have it, the first of many, many zombie films.